That's me. Good morning. I'm going to call to order the public meeting for the Arapahoe County Board of County Commissioners for July 10th, 2018. To my left is Ron Carl, the county attorney. To my far right is Gail Stumpo, the assistant clerk to the board. Ms. Stumpo, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Jackson, absent and excused.
Correct.
Commissioner Holland.
He'll be here shortly.
He'll be here shortly. Commissioner Sharp.
Here.
Commissioner Conti. And Commissioner Baker.
Here. Commissioner Conti, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Certainly. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Carl, are there any modifications to the agenda this morning?
There are no modifications to the agenda today.
If there are no modifications, I would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Conti, seconded by Commissioner Sharp. All in favor? Aye. That motion passes. This is the time where we invite citizens to speak to the commissioners on anything that's not already on the agenda to be discussed. There's a 3-minute time limit per person unless otherwise noted by the chair. Are there any citizens that would like to take advantage of this 3-minute time period? Good morning, Ms. Roberts. And again, as always for the record, please state your name and address.
Good morning. Becky Roberts, 714 Imboden Mile Road, Watkins. I would like to read some of the thoughts my husband Larry had on how the proposed Swan site is affecting him. He said, Imagine you are 67 years old. You have worked 40 hours or more a week for 48 years, with only 2 weeks off a year for vacation. You put your 2 kids through college without student debt and now have 3 grandchildren. 10 years ago, during the heart of the Great Recession, you sold your home in town and bought your dream home on a couple of acres a few miles out of town. Your neighbor adjacent to you to the west owns 8 square miles of cornfields. 4 years ago, you got a notice about an expansive new development planned in those cornfields. You went to the meetings where the developer presented the plans, you asked questions, and knowing the land adjacent to you was zoned residential and agricultural, you expected there would soon be homes next door. 6 years ago, this developer donated over $1,000 to the re-election campaign for your local elected government official, who would be hearing this major development case for approval. 4 years ago, this developer signed a secret agreement with a $73 billion oil company to drill a multi-well industrial facility immediately adjacent to your property, yet lied to you about what was planned next to your property, showing designs of open space immediately across the street. 20 months ago, the same land was posted with a sign stating 8 oil and gas wells would be drilled 1,000 feet from your home and the truck access road 500 feet from your front porch. The developer and oil company chose 13 acres as close to your home as the law allows on which to drill for oil and gas, out of over 5,000 acres of cornfields to choose from. and the only way to evacuate in an emergency would be to get closer to the wells. Wouldn't you want your local elected official to ask for an alternative site analysis? Wouldn't you want someone to listen? On behalf of the 62 families in Watkins Farm, our sincere thank you to Director David Schmidt, Diane Kosis, and Commissioners Sharp, Conti, Baker, Holen, and Jackson. We were informed late yesterday afternoon that the proposed Swan site will be elevated to a public hearing. You heard our concerns, and you understand the safety issues involved with this location. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Roberts. Ms. Wright, if you'd please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Margie Wright, 34755 East 10th Drive in Watkins Farm. You're probably growing tired of seeing our faces at each meeting, but thank you for listening to us. And as we voiced our concerns over the Swan site proximity to our homes, addressing the health, the safety, the welfare of our 62-plus homes in Watkins Farm development. The issues with the ingress and egress, the proposed emergency road with locked gates, and our request for a public hearing with the Board of County Commissioners. I also want to ask that you keep in mind Conoco Swan site application is currently for 1 well and 4 tanks, when their long-term plan is to increase this 12-plus acre site with additional wells and up to 32 tanks. For many folks in our Watkins Farm development, they told us we didn't stand a chance going up against the oil and gas giant like Conoco. But we have support from Watkins Farm residents and neighboring communities. As you have seen over the many monthly meetings, a few of us have had the nerve to stand up and fight for their concerns. Also, I want to express my appreciation to Dave Schmidt and all of you for recommending this case AE 18-003 Conoco Swan Site Well Facility be referred to the Board of County Commissioners for a public review. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. Are there any other citizens here that would like to address any non-agenda items this morning? Seeing none, public comment period is closed. We have several items under consent agenda. Are there any questions or concerns from any of the commissioners about any of the items on the consent agenda? If not, then I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as the items on the consent agenda as stated.
I'll move approval as presented.
Second. Motion made by Commissioner Sharp, seconded by Commissioner Conti. All in favor? Aye. That motion passes. We have 2 general business items this morning. The first is item 6A. It's a public hearing, supplemental budget resolution for fiscal year 2017. The presenter will be Todd Weaver, and our county attorney is Ron Carl. Mr. Carl, would you please lay the foundation?
Yes, and I will note for the record that Commissioner Holland just joined us on the dais. Pursuant to state statute, once the county has adopted its annual budget, the board may transfer monies between funds or between spending agencies within a fund, or if unanticipated revenues are received, the board may elect a supplemental budget appropriation after notice of the transfer or supplemental appropriation has been published. The record should reflect that notice of the amendment that is being proposed to the 2018 budget was published in the July 5th, 2018 issue of the Villager newspaper. Therefore, the board has jurisdiction to consider this amendment to the 2018 budget.
Thank you. Mr. Weaver.
Good morning, Board. Before you have a single resolution that will amend the 2017 budget, in particular for the Development of Disabilities Fund. When we budget the Development of Disabilities Fund, it is solely property tax funded, and we set the collection rate of that budget at about 99% of what is levied. In 2017, we collected about 99.6% of what was levied, and therefore collected more than we had budgeted and distributed more than we had budgeted. So this $62,000 supplemental will increase the revenue for the Development of Disabilities Fund and the appropriation for that Development of Disabilities Fund. in order to get our financial statements finalized for fiscal year 2017. This topic was discussed with the Board of County Commissioners at a drop-in session on July 2nd, and then we brought it forward for your consideration for approval this morning at the public hearing. If you have any questions or concerns, I can address those at this time.
Mr. Carl.
And I would note that I referenced the 2018 budget in my comments, and I should have said 2017.
Are there any questions for Mr. Weaver at this point? If not, this is a public hearing. No one did sign up to speak, but I will open up public comment. If there's any citizens that would like to address us upon this supplemental budget resolution, please make yourself known to me. Seeing none, public comment period is closed. And I would entertain a motion. And if I'm not mistaken, the motion can be found on page 42 of our budget resolution, our budget package. And I've got it, so if it's all right, I'll go ahead and make that motion. I move to adopt the supplemental appropriation request to the 2017 budget that was presented to the board at drop-in session on July 2nd, 2018, and brought forward for today's public hearing for formal adoption.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Baker, seconded by Commissioner Holland. All in favor? Aye. That motion does pass, and again, Commissioner Jackson is absent and excused this morning. We are going to move to the second item under the general business item. This is a public hearing. Arapahoe County Cultural Council 2018 and 2019 year for the Scientific Cultural Facilities District Tier 3 recommendations. The attorney on this case, on this public hearing is Tiffany Blue. Welcome, Ms. Blue.
Thank you.
And so would you please lay the foundation for us?
Yes, this public hearing is required for the SCFD funding and has been properly noticed, and the board has jurisdiction to hear the recommendations.
Okay. And our presenter this morning is Don Clemmy, the director of our Community Resources Department. Thank you. I appreciate that. I was going through all 9 of them in my head trying to get to the right one. Thank you, Don. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Don Clemmy, Community Resources Department Director. Pardon me. With me today is Mr. Kirk Bateman, who is the chair of the Arapahoe County Cultural Council, and Marcus Turner, who is staff to the Scientific Cultural Facilities District. On June 25th, in a study session, the Cultural Council recommendations were made to the Board of County Commissioners. There were no changes that were noted at that time, and the board directed staff to set the matter for public hearing, and that is the purpose of the meeting today. Mr. Bateman is available for questions if the board has any questions, but other than that, we're available for the board decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Are there any questions for Mr. Clemmy? No. Again, we did have a sign-up sheet at the back of the room. Mr. Bateman also did sign up on the thing and is available to speak. Marcus Turner, is Marcus here? Okay, Marcus Turner. Would you like to speak, Mr. Turner? Okay. So those were the only 2 on my sign-up list. I will open public comment at this time and ask if there's anybody here from the public that would like to address this issue about the recommendations for Tier 3 funding for the Scientific, Cultural, and Facilities District. Seeing none, I will close public comment period and ask for a motion.
First, I'd like to thank you all very much for your hard work. It's not easy going through all of these applications and making decisions and then, presenting and looking at what the needs are in Arapahoe County. So thank you all very much. Really appreciate it. So I move to approve the request for funding totaling $1,731,078.37 as presented to the Scientific Cultural Facilities District 2018-2019 Tier 3 Grant Funding Plan, presented at the June 25th, 2018 study session.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Sharp, seconded by Commissioner Holland. All in favor?
Aye.
That motion carries. Are there any commissioner comments this morning? Commissioner Holland.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just commend the volunteer staff and the community services staffers who've worked very hard to identify and select the best and most qualified recipients. I think that this program provides such a variety of art and cultural activities throughout the county. And the positive thing about it is that it's geographically widespread. It's across the county, and to bring culture and an understanding and appreciation of art and in its many forms. So I just want to thank you for your work and look forward to attending at least the Aurora Symphony this year. So thank you very much.
Commissioner Conti.
Thank you. And I also wanted to thank the board for not only going to the trouble and effort to look at the organizations that exist within Arapahoe County, but for going the extra mile and looking where do Arapahoe County residents also visit outside the district. Thank you so much for doing that and doing that extra legwork, because there are many places across this great state that Arapahoe County residents do enjoy and become enriched by visiting. So thank you for that.
Any other commissioner comments? Seeing none, we are adjourned.